Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. Special thanks to my great pal David Asman and Brian Brenberg for pinch hitting for me while I got a much-needed vacay, and they were terrific. So now we go to Joe Biden. There goes Joe Biden leaving the confines of his seaside Delaware mansion, heading north to Philadelphia for a rare public campaign appearance on Labor Day, yesterday. Well, good for him, except for what he said. Oh, my goodness. With the greatest respect, always, and I surely don't mean any personal attack, but once again, our current president is simply incapable of telling the truth about the economy. Simply incapable. Repeating lines that he knows are not true. Of course, my favorite will always be his bragging about a $1.7 trillion deficit reduction. Now, this has been awarded a bottomless Pinocchio by the Washington Post fact checker, who, by the way, has a big fat liberal bias, but it is still a bottomless Pinocchio regardless of Mr. Glenn Kessler's biases. There is no $1.7 trillion reduction. Not now, not yesterday, not tomorrow under Mr. Biden. In fact, this year's FY23 deficit will be well over $2 trillion. And none of that includes re-estimates of the poorly named Inflation Reduction Act, which Team Biden has finally fessed up to be a climate subsidy bill, and which the Penn-Wharton model and some others are now scoring at over $1 trillion. The original was about $250 billion, so go figure. And of course, President Biden, who is a self-proclaimed devotee of constitutional democracy, well, he refuses to abide by the Supreme Court decision, which prohibits the cancellation of student loans by executive order. Maybe somebody should think about a lawsuit regarding a Biden-esque insurrection. Just kidding. Meanwhile, the president, as usual, attacked his predecessor for not creating any jobs or buildings. Hear it for yourself.
Guess what? The great real estate builder, the last guy here, he didn't build a damn thing. The guy who held this job before me was just one of 2 presidents in history. He was but here's an important point, one of 2 presidents in history that left office with fewer jobs in America than when he got elected office. The last guy was here, you were shipping jobs to China. Now we're bringing jobs home from China. When the last guy was here, your pensions were at risk. We helped save millions of pensions with your help.
Well, now, Mr. Trump actually created a massive tax cut incentives for a huge volume of new plants, equipment, and machinery. He also built a wall to protect the United States border with Mexico. Of course, Mr. Biden wouldn't finish the wall and left hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment to rust because of his open border policy, but I digress on that. Anyhow, during the first 30 months of their respective presidencies, Mr. Trump generated 2.8 million more net new jobs than Mr. Biden did when properly adjusting for COVID returnees. That includes 250,000 more in the manufacturing sector. Those are facts. And by the way, speaking of jobs, the last 2 job reports suffered from huge downward revisions. If you ask me, along with an inverted yield curve, collapsing money supply, I guess 16 straight months of declining index of leading indicators, I believe a recession threat is still very significant. I'd say about 65% in the next 12 months. Anyway, Mr. Biden then argues he's making people pay their fair share of taxes. Of course, most of the Trump tax cuts are still standing, the only pro-growth element of the whole economy. But Mr. Biden insists that more than 1,000 billionaires in the U.S. pay only 8% in federal taxes. Now, I especially like this one. It's a real head-scratcher because there's a cockamamie calculation by White House staff of a non-existent wealth tax on unrealized capital gains. Well, there is no such tax, so I don't know what Biden's talking about. But that's okay, But he goes on and on about the big corporations have to start paying their fair share, which reminds me of my late dear friend, the late Congressman Jack Kemp, big follower of Ronald Reagan. I knew him when I was a child working for Reagan. Anyway, Jack Kemp used to always say, the trouble with Democrats is they like jobs. They just don't like the businesses that create jobs. Lord, how we all miss Jack Kemp. Anyway, I don't know all the rest of Mr. Biden's speech to the labor unions in Philadelphia. I'm sure he prattled on about how he inherited a reeling economy with high inflation, forgetting, of course, that the inconvenient facts are an economy in early 2021 growing at 6.5% and an inflation rate of 1.5%. Which brings me to my last observation. According to the Wall Street Journal poll, the most recent one, voters give Mr. Biden very low marks for handling the economy. We're going to discuss these polls with DeRoy Murdoch and Mark Simone later in the show. But voters give former President Donald Trump very high marks for his record of accomplishments as president. Interestingly, by an 8-point margin, more voters said Trump, not Biden, has a vision for the future. Now, in a recent white paper, Mr. Trump talked about unleashing prosperity by extending the Trump tax cuts, canceling every new Biden regulation that's harming workers, opening the spigots for what he calls liquid gold, a.k.a. oil, gas, and enacting the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act to protect workers and manufacturers. The former president is the only candidate in either party with a clear second-term economic agenda. And that's why he has a massive polling lead for the GOP nomination. And many of those same polls show him defeating Mr. President Biden.